Hey everyone, welcome back to Secret Sonics. I'm your host, Ben Wallach. This is Mix Notes number 8. Today, I thought I would talk about electric guitars. And I know I did one recently on the bass, and I mentioned that I'm a bass player. So, am I a guitar player also? Sort of. I play guitar pretty well. I do a couple things relatively well, and they work for me in the productions that I do. So, I'll talk a little bit about that and how I kind of get guitar sounds and parts on the productions I work on. So, I only have one guitar. And it's this, if you're watching the video, you could see it's a Mexican Fender Telecaster, which I bought in 2007. And I love it. I get so many different guitar tones on it. And yeah, I use it for literally everything I do on guitar. That's me. And I'm not saying I always use me on the guitar, right? There are times where we have to bring in a player who can do a part that I don't know how to do or get a tone that I don't know how to get. But for the things the productions I work on, this usually does the trick. And I don't have an amp. I don't own an amp. Now, if you're listening to this and you're completely mortified, feel free to turn off the program. But if you're interested to hear how I get my results, keep listening or keep watching if you're on YouTube. So yeah, these days I'm almost always using the Neural DSP Wang amp. I love it. It gives you it gives a few options, but mostly I'm kind of going for this kind of Fender classic kind of amp sound, which it does so well. There's something about it. It just sounds so real, so visceral. It sounds like an amp. And I don't care that I don't have an amp because I'm using the Neural DSP thing, and for my purposes, it's good enough. So yeah, it has, that's kind of where I'll bake in the tone is inside of the Neural DSP amp. Again, I'm plugging it directly into a preamp, into my interface, into the Wang amp. The only thing that's annoying is it takes a lot of DSP, and you have to lower the buffer size and monitor through your DAW. That is a little annoying. But the results are great, and I pretty much always get a sound I want, a usable sound, and that's kind of how my approach to tracking guitar. And I usually commit to the sound I get from the amp. It's not like I'm reamping it later. I'll kind of tweak the amp sim until I get the kind of tone that I want. There's some presets, but usually I'm kind of fiddling with the gain and. There's some pedals that they emulate, which sound really nice. There's a compressor and overdrive, stuff like that, tube saturation. So I'll kind of get all that stuff inside the thing, and I'll kind of commit to those tones. Here's a trick that I use pretty often when I'm tracking guitars, is if you want to get a wide stereo electric guitar tone, I'll often play the same part twice. I'll double it, and I'll do one part on the neck pickup, which kind of has a bassier tone, and I'll do the exact same part on a treble pickup, on the bridge pickup, which is a bit more trebly. And then I'll pan each of those parts hard left and right. And then you'll get really big, wide open kind of guitar tone that sounds super stereo, and it works really well. I use this all the time. I don't remember where I picked it up from, but it's great. So try it out if you haven't done it yet. So let's talk a little bit about the parts I do in productions. So again, we all have gifts and things that we're better at and worse at in terms of production, songwriting, playing, whatever it is. So I tend to lean on the things that I do well on the guitar, which is not everything, but it's some things. I don't try to reach for things that I can't record. And if the production really needs something that I can't do, we'll find a guitarist that can actually do that. But if it's something that I can do and it adds a certain element to the production, then we'll go for it. And it gives my productions that kind of Ben Wallach sort of sound, because these are the things that I do well, and these are the things I do. So over the years, I've built up a bag of tricks, so to speak, that I kind of can reach into to grab for different things inside of a production. Some of the things I do nicely are arpeggiated stuff, like the Johnny Greenwood in Rainbows, Weird Fishes kind of thing. I do rhythmic picky kind of stuff, almost like a The Edge kind of thing pretty well, or like a punk rock kind of thing even. Big open guitars, and I like to describe this as the slowest possible John Mayer style solo, bluesy kind of melodic. I could do that, but not as well as John Mayer, but I could do it as well as Ben Wallach can do it, and for some productions, that really works. And kind of leaning on those things helps me kind of get my unique kind of flavor to a production. And again, if it's not right for the song, then we'll find someone who can do the right thing. But for most things, this tends to be enough, and it works and it kind of sets the direction, a path on the actual production that I'm working on. And the truth is, I talk about this a lot on the podcast of leaning into the things that you do well. And so that's what I kind of try to do with the electric guitars. I kind of lean into the things I do well, and that kind of informs the production and gives it my sort of spin. In terms of mixing electric guitars, I don't usually go too heavy-handed on them because I've committed sort of to the sound inside the plugin, the amp plugin that is, and in terms of just the guitar that I'm using, or the pickup pattern the pickup that I've chosen to use. I don't really need to compress guitars very much because if it's distorted or broken up, it already has a lot of built-in compression just from the way the amp is dealing with the signal. So there's not so much that needs to be done. Maybe I'll shave off another, 1 to 3 dB with like maybe something. Usually, if I'm doing that, then I'm usually using something transparent, like a VCA style compressor. I will often EQ the guitars kind of on a bus level. Again, like I'll get a guitar tone that I like, so I won't usually have to do a ton of EQing. But on the electric guitar bus, sometimes I'll shape with an EQ, maybe like a Pro Q3 or something. Like let's say if it's clashing with the electric bass or with the vocalist or something else, maybe an acoustic guitar, to get the electric guitar to kind of have its own spot and get rid of some of that clashing frequency zone. Usually it's in the low mids, let's say 400 to 800 hertz. Or sometimes I'll even boost 800 hertz if I feel like that's not clashing with, let's say, the vocalist, but it's helping the guitars poke out in a nice way. So it kind of just depends on the song and what else is in there. But I'll kind of do some very broadband, global kind of massaging to the electric guitar bus with EQ to kind of make it sit nicely in the track. Yeah, I might throw a saturator on the guitar bus, maybe something like the Black Box HG2, to kind of give it a little bit more edge, to push it through a little bit more. Also, I'll use tape emulation for that. So I usually use the Slate tape emulator. You can watch or listen to the previous mix notes about saturation. Those are things that I'll often use on electric guitars to kind of get them to poke through the mix a tiny bit more, and whether it's poke through or even kind of glue it. So that's kind of the stuff I'll do. The only extra effects that I'll add to a guitar is maybe if I'm doing guitar solo, maybe I'll add some extra reverb or delay depending on what I feel like it needs, if it needs that more space or whatever. But if it's kind of like crunchy guitars, I'll probably leave them pretty dry and as they were recorded. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have an amp. I only use one guitar, but I'm able to get pretty interesting guitar results based on just leaning into the things that I do. So I guess that would be my big takeaway message for this episode is to lean into the thing that you do really well, kind of get the guitar tones that you think you can get, and add that flavor and make it part of your production sound. So let me know what you think about this video. If you dig it, if I committed any sins or no-nos that you'd want to call me out on, you can do so in the comments below on YouTube, or you could just shoot me a message on Instagram at Ben Wallach Music or at Secret Sonics, and let me know what you think about this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a rating and review on the podcast app or on YouTube, and subscribe if you're watching, please. That would be great. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great one, and until next time, take care.